welcome into episode 2 of the Brodie Hour. Today we've got a very special guest. You've probably heard of the Dave Ramsey Show, Ramsey Solutions. Maybe your dad listens to it. This is one of his personalities, George Kamel. He's on the show, has a couple of podcasts of his own. George, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Brodie.
Well, first of all, I just want to ask you, you guys, this is a show for college kids. You guys preach on the show a lot. Don't go to some elite Georgetown, USC, coastal school. Most of the people here, thank goodness, are state schoolers. But what would you tell people who are maybe bound for college? Oh, I totally want to go to Georgetown or something like that. What advice would you give them?
Well, the advice we give is that we don't care where you go to school as long as you don't go into debt for it. So we're not against private schools, but there is this idea that if I go to a famous school, a name brand school, my life is going to be better and everything's just going to be great for me. And the truth is, people who go to community colleges, who go to trade schools, who go to state schools, live great lives and have great jobs, and they can often do it without debt because the cost is so much lower. And so I want people to focus on the education they can afford and have their education match their goals.
Yeah. And you guys do preach about not going into debt, cutting your credit cards, but for a lot of college kids, that ship has sailed. And some of the people may be watching this thinking, oh, maybe that no debt thing is something that I'd be interested in. What advice would you give them to maybe once they graduate college, they can get into the baby steps? How can they start maybe preparing or gearing themselves up for a debt-free living like no one else?
Absolutely. So there's two camps here. There's, hey, I went to college and I took on student loan debt and it's too late, right? And so you're graduating with this debt. That was me at 23 years old. I graduated with $36,000 in student loan debt. And I just thought, well, I'm normal. This is average, and I'm just going to pay this off for the next 10 or 20 years, and it's just going to be a part of my life, gnawing at my leg, right? But I want people to understand that it doesn't have to be that way. I ended up falling into this Ramsey plan, the baby steps, and I ended up paying off my debt in 2 years following the baby steps. So it absolutely can be done. You don't have to live with this debt for 10, 20, 30 years of your adult life. I want you to get rid of it so you can live your life and have that income back so that you can do what you want.
And you had to pay more than just a monetary price to get that debt off in 2 years. I'm guessing you had to make a lot of sacrifices. Can you share some of those?
Absolutely. Some of the things I had to do was drive for Uber and Lyft on the weekends and look at side work in marketing. And, whatever your field is, you can often find side work in that field, or you can find a side job. Maybe it's off campus, or if you're already graduated and you're working, maybe you can pick up overtime or deliver for Instacart or Ship. There's so many options out there to bring in extra income. And on the other side, we can bring in extra income, but we can also slash a lot of our expenses. So I started cutting things out like Netflix and Hulu for a period of time so that I could have that income back in my life. There's a lot of areas we can trim on, like eating out. That was something I was doing way too often in my adult life because I was too lazy to cook. And it was costing me $700, $800 a month to eat out instead of spending $300 on groceries and just cooking at home to save $500 a month. So we've got to really look at some math here, look at some logic and go, can I make some sacrifices short term so I can have some long-term gains?
I'm guilty as charged on the eating out thing. I need to rein that in a little bit myself. But you've got a couple of podcasts yourself. I believe one of them is the EntreLeadership, if that's how it's pronounced.
And EntreLeadership, yes.
Okay.
Can you talk about that? We decided to mash together entrepreneur and leadership to make EntreLeadership.
Okay. And then you've got the fine print. Can you speak on both those podcasts, what people can expect, what kind of advice you're doling out there?
Absolutely. So the EntreLeadership podcast is all about business and leadership. So if you're the entrepreneurial type, small business owner, you're a leader at an organization or a company, or you want to get into leadership, this is the podcast for you. I talk with the world's greatest leaders out there, people who are really doing it. We talk to small business owners. We talk to some of our Ramsey leaders, and it's weekly. And so you can find that wherever you listen to podcasts. And there's always great content. I learned so much just hosting that podcast. And on the other side, we have the fine print. So this is my baby. This is a show that we just released. It launches every other week. And this is really a different take for Ramsey. This is a narrative storytelling type podcast, similar to something you'd hear from NPR. And what I wanted to do is through story and through narrative storytelling, really craft a 20, 30-minute podcast around a topic to help people understand the money traps. And so that's what it's all about, the hidden truths that are keeping people broke, from the housing market to student loans to buy now, pay later services, you name it, we cover it. And so I'm really excited about that podcast. We've got 5 episodes out right now, and we've got another 5 for season 1 coming through Thanksgiving.
Mind sharing some of the stuff you specifically talked about in that fine print?
Absolutely. One of the biggest ones we hit on is credit card rewards. This is huge. People are obsessed with their rewards. And I say, George, why would I cut it up, man? I'm getting free vacations. And the truth is, there's so much fine print when it comes to credit cards. There's so many underpinnings. And I talked to an ex-Capital One employee named Elena, who really told us the behind the scenes of how these credit cards are coming after you. And it's not the way you think, because they're selling you on the rewards, on the vacations. Hey, this is a great option for college students to build a credit, right? All these things. And what they're doing is they're running thousands and thousands of experiments to get you to spend more, to get you to miss that payment, to trigger interest, to trigger fees, so that it keeps you in the cycle of debt. And so what we teach people is to use a debit card and to live on less than you make. And so part of this lifestyle is cutting up the card. I haven't had a credit card in 8 years. I paid that thing off and I never looked back. And let me tell you, I have not stressed one day about missing out on some rewards, because when I want to go on vacation, I can save up and pay for it in cash. And that's what budgeting and these principles have done for me. So we cover credit card rewards. We've got a new one coming out on cryptocurrency. This is a huge one, especially for young people and millennials. They're going all in on Dogecoin and Bitcoin, and I should be investing in the latest one my friend told me about, or a TikTok account told me about. And it's these get rich quick schemes that are really holding people back financially because they're not thinking long term. The best ways to become a millionaire, to build wealth, are not through cryptocurrency. It's through the boring ways, like your company 401k or a Roth IRA. It's those simple things, but they're not as exciting, right? You don't get to watch it on the Robinhood app go up and down all day long and trade and go, hey, what'd you invest in? What'd you invest in? And so we cover all kinds of topics that are trending right now, because I want people to avoid falling for the traps and make smarter decisions with their money.
And I wanted to talk about that millionaire lifestyle that you guys talk about. I know a couple myself, and one of them, their favorite restaurant's McDonald's. They take the 4:30 a.m. flights. Most people think they live lavishly, but actually a lot of them are a little more frugal. Can you talk on that?
Oh, absolutely. We did a study on millionaires. It was the largest study ever done, over 10,000 millionaires. And these are not all Ramsey people who have done it the Ramsey way. These are general millionaires. Some of them are people who have followed our plan, but largely it was the average everyday people. And what we found is that these aren't doctors and lawyers and athletes and celebrities. These are teachers. These are engineers. These are everyday people that we interact with. And you would never know they're millionaires because they're not showing it. You wouldn't see it in the cars they drive and the houses they own, because they live on less than they make, right? They're buying $20 jeans. They're not driving Ferraris out there. And so we've got to reset our brains when it comes to wealth and stop thinking that it's got to be this Instagram worthy lifestyle, because that's really a facade. Most people that are showing you that, they are drowning in debt, and they're trying to keep up and maintain an image to impress people. And what I want people to do is run their own race and run their own journey and not worry about what other people think. And so that's the path that I'm on. I don't care about a lavish lifestyle. I just want to have options. I want to have freedom. I want to have meaning. And that's exactly what the Ramsey baby steps are all about.
Yeah. George, when's the next time we can hear you on the Dave Ramsey Show? Do you know?
Yes, I will be on next week. I'll be on a whole bunch in October. We've got a really busy season coming up, so you can catch me on the Ramsey Show a lot in October. We're going to be co-hosting, some with Dave, some with our other personalities, and it is a blast to take calls. So I want to encourage college students. I love taking calls from college students. If you didn't know this, you can actually call the show. I know for millennials, it's like, you want me to get on the phone? Are you kidding me? It'll be fun, I promise. If you call us up, 888-825-5225. We are live Monday through Friday from 1 to 4 p.m. Central Time. And you can call and have your question answered. And it's a fantastic resource for college students who are going, hey, I'm at a crossroads. I don't know what to do when it comes to insurance. I don't know what to do when it comes to my career. Our personalities can help you navigate these things over a phone call, and it's totally free.
Yeah.
That's a great resource.
I can say myself, even if you don't want to call, it is just entertaining listening to hear all these people's stories and the challenges they go through. So, George,
yeah, some of it's inspiring, and some of it you go, oh my gosh, I'm glad that's not me, right? There's a whole spectrum of people calling in, and we love it. I love to see people from all walks of life, from all parts of the country, and it's so interesting to hear their stories, and really helps me keep my finger on the pulse of what are the pain points people are experiencing? Where are people hurting right now? Where are people struggling? How can we help? How can our baby steps intersect their lives in such a way that they're confident in their money decisions and not stressed and worried?
Yeah. Well, you guys are doing great things. And for the people here in Stillwater, you can listen to all 4 hours of the Dave Ramsey Show on 1600 AM in Oklahoma City. George, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time on the Brodie Hour.